those were numbers.
Yep.
Ishida, Mitsunari, So, hey, this is Jeff.
This is David.
Hi, David.
Hi, Jeff.
This is okay. There's a sing-songy nature to it. We're playing Nioh. We're going to beat Ishida Mitsunari.
Yay.
It's very difficult if you're trying to beat him. Well, at all, but even more difficult if you beat him without getting hit, in quotes, where you're not taking damage technically. Let's fight. As mentioned the last time, which I usually do a preview at the end, but that seems not to be very useful because this is the video where we're talking about the fight.
Right.
He has a little fox tail.
Yes, he
If
does.
you stab his tail, he falls over. He gets sleepy. I do not have a reliable way of hitting it. That's probably because I'm using mid-stance spear pokes, which I found easiest for me. For the first half of the fight, it's going to be forward-right dodges in between baiting out his attacks, of which he will most often do the wide swing, except you have to watch out for it in this clip here where... Okay.
Oh, hey.
That's yeah. There's uneven terrain.
Man, you don't even wait for him to kill you anymore.
No. Using the Harakiri sword is great because you keep your living weapon charge.
Oh, okay.
So normally when you die, you lose your spirit
living
animal.
All right,
and you
so
have
he's
to go
doing
get it back.
He's doing a two-handed combo.
A two-handed combo, slightly faster. This one I don't have a reliable way of predicting, so that's why I was just walking briefly. For the most part, the first half of the fight, at least when you get into the rhythm that is happening here,
Right.
is fairly easy. The problem is that his living weapon mode has some very difficult to dodge attacks, which is why we're going to run away with a noble tactical retreat using the environment as a shield.
Yay.
The reason that I'm running away, because when he charges up his stupid living weapon, he has a lot of long-range wind-cutting attacks, which suck. So this is a strategy and an advanced tactic that I call wrong button. Because I'm also wrong direction, but it's a mixture. It's an advanced technique. There's a bunch of different things going on here. But I'm running in circles because I want him to. Okay, let's see why. Why am I running away? We'll see. Here's some examples. Here is a not at all frustrating incomplete attempt. But look, one of the things he can do is a little tantrum.
Okay.
He starts shooting wind blasts everywhere. We actually saw that when he started the fight, but I didn't mention it then because whatever. This is the time to mention the living weapon attacks.
Right.
Like, oh, that's not so bad. He has a Miyazaki jump.
But faster.
It's but faster. As long as you know that it can happen, it's fine. We're still going to stay at the same range for the most part. We just need to watch out for his... If he does that attack, great. It's just as easy to dodge. And look, he ran out of ki, which means his living weapon charge ended, which means he can't use the wind attacks. But he has less than half health. He can use it as many times as he wants. Here's the crosswind slash. It goes in four directions.
Lord.
Look, I will have you note how much health he has and how much I dodged that attack.
Right. Oh no.
Demoralizing infinite range, infinite combo.
Oh, no.
This is the one that sucks the most. It's 4 attacks, 4 hit combo, super wide wind. I was, let's say, sad after that fight.
I'm sure you had some words.
I had words. Yep. Look at that sick dodge.
Yes.
Ahem. That was actually technically another attack. He can send out it's like the talismans that you can use where he just sends out his spirit companion. It just goes forward in a line, basically. You dodge the attacks mostly like all the other ones. My strategy here, because it was like an hour and a half of straight attempts, was save the living weapon for the last bit and then spam and then I got the Crusher achievement.
Yay.
I won. I beat the game.
I like how you had to go. You had to Mario Kart him.
Yes, there's a little bit of Mario Karting, which you can do. Now, the hitbox, like the hitbox for the wind slash that actually makes it interact with the walls, is kind of in the middle, which means that if the middle doesn't hit the wall, it'll continue on, and it's much wider than the hitbox.
Oh.
So it is possible to kind of get hit through the edges of walls, which is why many attempts were kind of standing at the edge there. So there was also some other things I was trying, like the advanced tactic, as mentioned earlier, which didn't actually work, was positioning because I'm using Kato. No, it was Raiken. Is it Raiken?
You're using Fire Puppy.
Okay, I think that's Kato.
I think that's Kato, right.
So I was using the talisman to do just where the dog just runs forward and makes an explosion.
Mm-hmm.
And I was using the Mario Kart strategy so that he would follow me and he would land in approximately the same spot where you could kind of predict where he would be landing, and then have the dog hit him as he lands, the burst damage would hit his tail, which would also knock him out because his stupid tail is the sort of weak point. That worked in a few attempts, but that one, it didn't work on that attempt because, well, whatever. Hit the button too early, just facing the wrong direction, doesn't matter. it was a strategy, it was tried, and it worked sometimes, and if it works for you, great. The main problem is the crazy wind slashes when he infuses his weapon. That's what took so long to beat.
Right.
I eventually got there. Yeah,
it's done. Yeah.
I don't have to fight Mitsunari again.
Yay! Except now you have to go back and do it with all the weapons you haven't done it with yet.
Nope.
Nope.
Next we fight. It's the next level is I want to say penultimate level, but it's not technically. It's whatever before the penultimate level would be.
The pre-penultimate.
Pre-penultimate level.
Mm-hmm.
I consider it the penultimate level of like the campaign because the last mission is sort of a weird one. And it happens after like the climax of the story, basically. Well, I don't know. The boss there is kind of climactic in a way. It kind of brings things together.
I should probably finish playing Nioh.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. It's enjoyable. We can, this holidays coming up. Maybe we can play Nioh. I don't know.
Right, maybe. Like in the same room.
Maybe we could even do that while we need a PS4.
Right, well, I happen to have one, so.
Oh, you have a PS4. How about that? Okay.
Yeah.
That could work. Let's see. The next fight is, I forget the name, but it's another long castle level. It is another human opponent. Is very easy. So, well, it's not super easy because there are a few attacks that kind of like come out faster than you expect. But he's much easier than Shima Sakon was, or Sakon, or however you say the name.
Don't
the
know.
Spear guy. The next guy is a Warhammer / sword user. So Warhammer hammer types are very slow.
Right.
But also, since a human opponent, I don't remember. Let's talk about it in the next video.
Right. We'll talk about him in his own video.
Strategy for next fight will be in next video.
Right.
Doot.
If you've enjoyed this content or found it helpful at all, feel free to go over to Patreon, and you can pledge to give so much per month, and that helps us, buy equipment when we need it, and will get us closer to being able to do this on a more full-time basis. If you can't do Patreon, feel free to go to PayPal and do like a one-time thing. If you can't do either of those, just remember to tell people about the show.
Yep, appreciate it. Actually bought some stuff for the show with show funds.
Yep.
Recently. And by recently I mean yesterday. So got a glorious 8 terabyte backup hard drive external thing so that I can take the contents of my hard drive and put them somewhere else so I can fill them up again with uncompressed video.
As it turns out, uncompressed video gets pretty big.
Even compressed videos, but compressed videos at 1080 and 60 are just still very, very, very large.
Right. At least we're not doing the fraps thing anymore.
Yes. Yeah. It's just not. Technically, it is a higher quality, technically speaking. If it's uncompressed, and then you edit it, and then you only compress it once, it is technically better.
Right, but it's 112 gigs. So
yes. Yeah, that kind of thing. It's very... Just ain't nobody got the space for that.
No. We had to cut it into it got cut into 100 and something parts, and it was still this part's a gig, so I'm gonna upload these 6 parts, and then when you've downloaded them, I'll delete those and upload
delete them with the next 6 parts, and then get those, and then maybe just put them on a hard drive and put it in the actual mail system.
That might. If we end up having another thing like that, it might just be easier to do that because, grab a 32 gig flash drive and send it to you.
The fall Steam sale was recently, because also American Thanksgiving was recent, and hey, look, they happened at the same time. Weird. To get blasted with emails where it's everything on your wish list is on sale.
I didn't actually get that. I don't think any of the games on my wish list went on sale.
I was 15 or 16. They were hey, there's a sale. You want some stuff? I was it's a long weekend. I could play some video games.
Right. I finally played through Undertale and beat Undertale.
That's a great video game.
You only gave it to me 2 years ago.
Yeah, whatever. It's not going anywhere.
No.
It doesn't have multiplayer servers that are going to get turned off. So.
Right. Also played Gone Home.
Demon Souls, rip in peace.
Oh, did that finally happen?
Yeah, I think that they're finally shutting down Demon Souls servers. But
wow. Well, we've finally gotten to the point where we can emulate PS3 games. So somebody will figure something out.
Someone will figure out how to emulate a PS3 Namco server.
Yeah.
See what happens.
Yeah. Well, I'm happy that the emulation at least is starting to happen. So maybe there's a chance that someday I too will play Demon Souls.
Yeah, maybe. It'd be nice. I mean, of all the things to remake, anyways, it's the one PS3 game that has stayed there.
Right.
It's not moved on in any format, digital or remake or remaster or re-release, etc., etc., etc.
Mm-hmm.
We also play Gone Home. Gone Home's also a pretty good game. I
think
Undertale's better, but
but they're also very different.
They are very different. It's apples and oranges.
I'm
But I like apples more than oranges, so.
Well, fair. But I'm gonna play through Gone Home with my wife on Saturday and see how she likes it, and I also want to try going through Undertale with her. But I don't know, that experience is very.
It's very visceral.
It's very visceral, but it's also geared towards
game
people.
Mechanics. Yeah, game people. There's a lot of game mechanic stuff used as plot devices without it being a very annoying fourth wall winky kind of BS.
Right. No, Undertale is a phenomenally written and designed game. I had one complaint with it, and that was it.
The best parts of Nier.
Right.
Like that. Yeah, there's
or just arbitrarily, this is now Diablo. Wait, what? Why? What? It is.
It's all right, cool.
Okay, fine, I guess.
Anyways, I can't talk about Nier. You haven't played Automata.
I have not played Automata. Is that on PC? Hold on.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, it's $60. Boo.
Boo. I don't know. Maybe it'll go on sale. It'll probably go on sale.
I need to just go ahead and add to wish list. Maybe I'll buy it with Christmas money.
But I bought and played through. Almost beat. I'm just on the last boss right at the moment. But played through Xanadu Next. It's a very dumb name for a video game.
Hold on. I'm going to look it up on the store while you talk.
Before you look it up, I'm going to describe it.
Okay.
Or let's test some knowledge. You could probably guess some things about it.
Okay.
Based on a few things, such as the company that made it.
Okay, who made it?
Nihon Falcom.
Oh, hey. So it's an East game.
Yeah. It's not an East game, but it is an East game.
Right.
I will. This makes me wonder how the game got made. From a higher level. And I kind of had like this conversation with my brother too, and some other, well, anyone who'll listen or that I'll rant at. This isn't really a rant. It's more of like a question of like how things get made.
Right.
And this isn't to say that the game is bad, but I'm just wondering like what decisions get made that this is the game that happens. Because Falcom has, the East series, which is, there's many of them, but they have a pretty unique design in that, it's a JRPG, kind of. It's more of an action RPG. You have... Basically, you control one character. It's usually Adol. Just a mute swordsman. And typically, they're shorter games. They have, just a few pieces of equipment, a few pieces of armor, one town, and then a few areas that connect the town. Lots of dialogue. Some anime portraits or anime cutscenes sprinkled about, and like usually pretty good, just like real-time action fight things, see numbers explode out of things, and like a bunch of like little coins, and collect the coins, and
and little power-ups pop out of dudes, and you pick them up, and then you've buffed everything to like 130%, and then you're good.
Yeah, so I mean that's like the East formula. You can be like, you get burned through the game 10-15 hours. Each of those. Well, I mean, I don't know each of them. I'm just thinking of Memory as a cell set. That's the only one that I've watched a number of times. But playing through
the original East games didn't have attack buttons. You literally just bumped into people, and like you could beat all of them in like 2 or I don't know, it was like 4 hours, I think.
Yeah, probably. That seems about right. They did technically invent the action RPG.
They did.
So I was wondering. I was like, did this happen before The Legend of Zelda? Yes.
Yes, it did.
they were making Dragon Slayer games in the early 80s.
No, Falcom's been around a bit.
They've been around.
Falcom is also, just from interviews I've seen of people in the company and of them talking about their design philosophies, Falcom, also a great company.
It is a sort of like hole in my Japanese role-playing game knowledge is Falcom. Right. So I tried to rectify that partially over the weekend.
Yeah.
Because I've watched speedruns of the East games, various East games. I never actually played any, but whatever. Experienced them. Yeah. And then I played, I think it was like 20 or 30 hours of Legend of Hero Trails in the Sky, which was fine.
That's Falcom?
That's Falcom.
Okay.
Legend of Heroes is Falcom. Anyways, that one's more traditional JRPG. Lots of towns. Way too wordy. That's the problem. Needs an editor.
Well,
like every single conversation goes on 4 or 5 times longer than it should, and it was just a slog. I was like, okay.
Was it that there were too many words, or that the people making the words weren't justifiably interesting?
I'd say that I played it as long as I did because I did like the characters. It's also like fully voiced, which is nice. So you just kind of have like spunky but fairly stereotypical anime characters, but it's fine as long as they're. I mean, well, whatever. It's still a Japanese video game, so It's like brother and sister. Like, okay.
I mean, Jeff, they're not actually blood related.
But they're not blood related,
and that's the only thing that matters.
Because because like the kid was like dropped in the prequel, in the prologue. He's like, he's like dropped off, and like, his mysterious birth, and what is like, anyways. I don't need to. No, sidestepping that. I'm not gonna talk about that part of Japanese culture. We're just gonna whoop right around that. Okay. Problem was that they talk too much.
Right.
It just became a slog. So, anyways, I was like, so I never actually beat that. But I was like, at least I gave it a shot. So I at least have an idea. I was like, I never played any of the action RPGs. And Xanadu Next is here, and I was like, I never heard of Xanadu Next. And then I'm a sucker for any review that mentions the words Kingsfield, so I was Kingsfield. I was like, how is this anything like? Oh, I already bought it. Well, okay. I guess I'll do that. It's an East game. Like, East is a mythological city that was buried under the ocean. Xanadu is like a mythological city. It's like you're a mute swordsman that has like in this case, it's like sister, but there's like girl basically who is there to do exposition dumps Okay.
Okay.
And then there's a single town, and there's like 4 dungeons around the town, and you get a small amount of equipment, a small amount of weapons. Each has a skill, a small amount of armor. You have special items you have to equip to do things Zelda style, like power bracelet kind of stuff, or like wing boots. I was like, yeah, so okay, yeah, it's an East game, but they called it not. It was not an East game. I guess the main differentiating factor is that the combat is more deliberate. So it's much slower. It's much more wait for enemy attack and then get behind them so that you do maximum damage with backstabs.
Okay.
So that's kind of the Kingsfield style, because a lot of the enemies, well, in Kingsfield everything is very slow and you're always just circle strafing things. You're doing that here, except it's fast and more exciting. There's that nice little crunch that for 2 or 3 frame hit delay. They give orange numbers when it's a crit. It all feels nice. They they die and they dissolve away, and the enemies just turn into a fountain of coins. You just collect all the coins. It's okay, it's very easy. So it's okay, but then back to the main point I had many minutes ago.
Right.
How did this get made though? What decision was made where it's we're going to make another game, and it's okay, high level decisions, we have Legend of Heroes, we have the East series, we're gonna make something new, but it's not. It's the exact same design template as East, and it has the same story template as East, and it has the same. It was just slightly tweaked where it's we want to have maybe a slightly slower combat. It's almost like a pseudo Diablo kind of perspective, because isometric, you rotate the camera, but you can still rotate the camera in a bunch of directions but that's not that far off from the overhead perspective of an East game. So I'm why wasn't it more different? And if it wasn't more different, why wasn't it just another East game? Because there's plenty of those.
It looks like it's weird. A remake, or it's based on a previous PC version of a game.
Maybe so.
Huh.
I guess I don't know any of the history. I know there's other Xanadu games, so maybe it was actually a separate series, and it's just kind of a.
Well, there was a Xanadu game called Fact Xanadu for the NES that I played a crap ton of as a kid. I didn't realize that was Neon
Fact
Falcom.
Xanadu. Okay, maybe I played it. I played one more Falcom game, I think, than I knew.
yeah, I just had this realization.
And I guess maybe okay, so maybe it's a completely separate series. I don't know.
So Xanadu next.
I don't have a lot of.
It's Dragon Slayer.
So Xanadu is the Dragon Slayer series, or is it a spin-off?
It says on the About This Game, a late entry in their immensely popular Dragon Slayer series and a spiritual follow-up to the late 80s cult classic Fact Xanadu.
So I guess that technically means that East, which came after Dragon Slayer, was the offshoot or the copy of the template. Well, actually, I don't know what the early Dragon Slayer games are. Like I said, there's a gap in my Falcom knowledge. Where
I mean, Fact Xanadu was very much 2D side-scrolling action platformer RPG kind of thing, kind of like Zelda 2 or Link 2, whatever it was called.
Yes, Adventures of Link. Sure.
Thank you. But no, I played a lot of that as a kid. I only beat it twice. Fun monster designs, if I remember correctly.
We need to go take a look at that one again. Well, either way, there's these 2 series that are basically responsible for the entire genre of action RPGs. Well,
right.
I'd argue that the roguelike that is called Diablo was maybe more responsible for a certain more familiar branch of the action RPG genre, because the action RPG genre that Falcom is doing is kind of only Falcom does.
Right.
Because there's the overhead collect items adventure, which is Zelda style. And Zelda doesn't really have. Well, I mean, there's a few exceptions, but it doesn't really have see numbers pop out of dudes or gain levels or anything like that. And
right.
The equipment is usually different flavors, but there's not going to be in a Zelda game you'll get 4 or 5 maybe different swords. And there's Breath of the Wild, but again, whatever.
Breath of the Wild is very unique.
It's a unique entry in the series. I'm saying like the original Legend of Zelda, Link to the Past, the Link's Awakening kind of style. It's like a different kind of. It's like an adventure game.
Right, and the weapons you get other than your sword in those games are weapons, but they're also just tools. They are keys.
Yeah, and then you have like the action RPG genre that most people think of is the one that Diablo created, which is clicking and loot and some, basically a palatable roguelike.
Yeah.
So like that's its own separate kind of thing. And I guess another version I could think of an action RPG would be the Squaresoft style, which would be like Seiken Densetsu.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. They each got their own little flavor, but there isn't really like a lot of games that do. There's plenty of games that do a Zelda style, but there isn't a lot that do like a specific kind of Secret of Mana style or a Ys style, other than like the series themselves. So, well, in the case of Mana, not even Mana. There's like this other crap, but whatever. That doesn't matter. I'm not going to talk about. We're not going to talk about Seiken Densetsu. It's fine.
You seem bitter about it. I wouldn't know why.
Whatever. I would like to have played Seiken Densetsu 3, but it's too old. It's problematic.
That's the Secret of Mana 2, right?
Yeah, it's like Secret of Mana 2. So it's like still Super Nintendo or Super Famicom.
Mm-hmm.
And like it looks great.
It looks wonderful.
It looks so great. But like actually playing the game, it comes from a different generation of games where you have to have complete focus and probably a guide in order to even know where to go or what to do. Because I'm just like, where do I go? I'm like running around this map forever, and then, anyways, I found that kind of frustrating because I didn't want to use a guide because like I play the video games all the time. I can figure out a video game. Like, I don't have time to figure out video games.
So I didn't have that exact problem playing through the game. My problem was anytime I entered a menu, it's just like, all right, time to wait 30 seconds for the SNES emulation to catch up.
I guess that's fair. That's fair.
It's just like, all right, I just want to see this.
I also never played Legend of Mana. I really want to play Legend of Mana.
That game.
If I want to, let's say, play it legitimately, it requires a large investment.
I played Legend of Mana like on disc, like legit for real. It just there was so much of it that just straight up did not make sense that I was just like, I don't get it. I just wanted Secret of Mana again. That's all I wanted. And this is really pretty.
They are actually remaking Secret of Mana now. So.
Oh, hey, that's nice. But
it'll be on PC too.
Ooh, and it'll have like the real script.
Maybe. We'll see. No idea. Man, Secret of Mana is not great.
But it could have been.
It could have been.
But they did strip away a lot of the resources for it.
It did take a lot away.
And they gave Ted Woolsey like a month to translate.
Yeah, it was like a month. Translate the whole thing. You have a month. The game is not actually great. The story is very bad. And plenty of plot holes, only because it's like, oh, we took away half the story because we don't have like a CD drive or whatever. Also, you have like a month starting yesterday to translate the whole thing. Congratulations.
Right, not just text, but all items. And hey, all the weapons have like 9 versions, so...
Music, super dope.
Super dope music. So and good. Really pretty. Like, for its time, it was such a pretty game.
Anyways, Xanadu next, fine. Nioh!
Nioh. That thing.
Oh, stop recording now.
I guess we should. This episode of the podcast is over.
Yeah, the podcast is over.